Hi everyone, we're here at Lost Creek Orchard. It's May 18th and we're just starting the beginning of our third growing season. If you watched parts 1 through 4, we discussed the planting, pruning techniques, pest control, and other challenges in our first 3 years. We had aphid problems and powdery mildew, which we treated with mineral oil or horticulture oil in the winter, and that seemed to be pretty effective. We also experiencing Japanese beetle problems, so we tried milky spores in the soil 2 years ago, and that slowed them down a little bit, but still had some issues later on in the summer. So we're going to try cedar oil this year to see if we can keep them from coming in the first place. We're also going to check on the progress of the trees and any additional challenges that we're up against. We just had a late year frost, so I attempted to protect the trees with burlap, particularly the sensitive ones that were frost damaged the year before, such as the peach and apricot. The cherry tree had lots of blossoms already starting, so I wrapped that one and some of the branches on the 501 apple down at the end in an attempt to protect them from the cold. I already did a spring pruning to remove any dead wood and water sprouts. So coming on to our first tree here, we have our nectarine, which was originally supposed to be a apricot, and we had a little damage last year from the deer taking some of the fruit off, and there was a break on that branch right there. I tied it back together and supported it, and it looks like it did survive, so we saved that main branch. The leaves are coming in good, and hopefully the frost did not affect this tree. We'll know in a couple of days. Over here we've got our cherry that's coming in very nice. It has lots of blossoms on it already, and I'm hoping that they're going to be alright with that frost. One thing I've never pointed out on here, an interesting feature of these cherries, they have some of their own built-in defenses. If you notice, right on that leaf right there, let's see if I can you see these little red nodules. And that's not anything you should worry about. Those are actually little nodes that secrete a sugary fluid which attracts ants, and then the ants in turn will eat the aphids. So it's like a natural defense system on this cherry. Thought that was an interesting little adaptation. Our pear tree is coming along nice as well. Lots of good growth on it. After the pruning, I did tie down a lot of the branches to train them, and I'm hoping to see some blossoms on this tree soon. Here we have a Honeycrisp apple, and even though I sprayed the horticulture oil in January and in March, it did not alleviate the aphid problem. As you can see, I'm getting some leaf curl right here, and little dots all over the leaves, particularly on the new growth on the end. So this year we got an aphid issue. I will be treating the trees with cedar oil to prevent the Japanese beetle infestation, and we're hoping it'll take care of the aphids as well. This was one of our damaged trees last year. The frost got it, and it is our peach, one of our peaches. And we decided to try to use the suckers, the sprouts, to save this tree. So I've got one main one right there that I intend to turn into the main trunk, and I decided to leave the other branches for now, just so that it can have more photosynthesis going on, and once that main leader is established, then I'll prune them off. But we're hoping for the best on that one. Coming over here on our plum tree, it's leafing out nice, and we're going to cedar oil it because the Japanese beetles just tear this tree up every year. So we'll see how that works out. Our other damaged tree was an apricot, and it had suckers coming up, or a sprout coming up down on the bottom down there all last year, and I was hoping I was going to be able to save it. But it did not produce any leaves this year, so this one's a goner. Another pear, leafing out real nice. Tying it down to open up that center. It's an open center pruning design there, and we're looking good. Our one and only, well, this I should say, our other pear or peach is leafing out nice. I bagged it as well for the frost, and hoping it survives. A couple days will tell. And last but not least, we've got our 5-in-1 apple. I did cover up these limbs that had blossoms on them. We've got some flowering going on, one species only, the Jonamac. And I guess it's probably the early bird. I'm hoping it's not going to be the only bird. And we'll see some other apple blossoms starting here soon. Nothing yet on the rest of the tree. But we've got good leaf production, and we are hopeful. So this year we're going to be using cedar oil to try to prevent the Japanese beetles from moving in the first place. It also should be useful to cure the aphid infestation. So I used a 4 tablespoons to a gallon of water, and I'm using the same applicator and technique that we applied the horticulture oil with during the winter. So basically just cover everything. Nice even coat. And that's all it takes. This cherry was particularly affected by the Japanese beetles, as well as the plum and the apples. It seems like the pears did not have trouble with them, but I'm going to spray them anyways just to make sure. After spraying the cedar oil, the next step was to weed the base area of all the trees in preparation for bringing in new mulch. For mulch, I'm using sawdust from past sawmill operations. It helps slow down the weed growth and holds in moisture between waterings. And it looks nice. Here's an example of learning a lesson the hard way. A couple of days after spraying our cherry tree with cedar oil, we noticed the leaves turning brown and starting to curl up. Now, we used cedar oil earlier in the season and didn't have any problem. So the only difference I can think of now is that I sprayed the tree with the sun high in the sky and an intense hot day, and the oil must have magnified the sunlight and burned the leaves. So the lesson learned here is when using horticulture oil or cedar oil, you have to do it early in the morning or late in the evening when the sun is low on the horizon. I think we're going to be all right here because I do see new growth coming in, and the tree looks like it's going to survive. Whether or not we get any cherries from all them beautiful blossoms we saw earlier is still to be determined. It's July 20th, and I'm going to give you some updates on the trials and tribulations of our orchard. This will be the third growing season, and this year we were going to experiment with cedar oil with Japanese beetle control. Now, as mentioned in Orchard Part 2, I believe, we used milky spores in the soil and had pretty good results with that, because without the milky spores, the Japanese beetles showed up in about May and started munching away like crazy. With the milky spores, we didn't really see them show up till June, and then they came after that. So we decided to use the cedar oil this season and put it on earlier as the videos showed, and I've had mixed results with it. The Japanese beetles did not show up until July now, but it may be due to a lapse in treatment. I got a little busy one week and wasn't spraying them as regularly as I should have been, and I came and found that the Japanese beetles have discovered the orchard, and according to research, once they come, you can't use it to get rid of them. But I did have a little trouble with it. As I said before, I got some leaf burn from using it during the daylight hours. A couple of treatments went fine. I must have got lucky on an overcast day, and then one day I did it with the sunshine, and I had some really bad leaf burns on particularly the cherry tree, which was doing good up until that point. So I decided not to apply the cedar oil until the evening, and I waited till 6 o'clock back in June when the sun was just about on the wood tree line, and darn it again, I got more leaf burn. Now, I'm not sure if it was because it wasn't late enough, or maybe it was a freak of nature, because that was around the time we were getting forest fires in Canada, with the smoke coming down this way and filtering the sunlight. Now, I noticed that when you see the sunlight reflecting on the windshields on cars and any reflective surface, it seemed like a real focused point. So maybe it was a freak of nature that 6 o'clock would have been fine with the cedar oil, but with the focused spectral smoke interference, it caused the leaves to burn. So from now on, I am not going to use it until after the sun is down over the tree line. No sun at all. So we're going to go down the line here and talk about some of the things here. This was the nectarine that we added last spring, and it got a little leaf burn, but continued with new growth. Not that impressive for a second-year tree, but still alive, which is better that can be said than another one down the line that we'll talk about. My cherry here was doing really well until I hit it with the oil at the wrong time, and you can see some of the leaves are curling up, dried up there. But we did get new growth after that, and got some improvement. So no fruit, because I think the oil might have affected that. When I got the leaf burn, I think it dropped all its blossoms, but it was trying. So that's and now the Japanese beetles are coming back and munching away pretty good, so I'm resorting to hand picking them off, like I discussed in some previous videos. Our pear here was doing really well, and as you can see, got some leaf burn on that too. It had a little new growth after that, but it seems like it might have stifled the growth a little bit. But we did get some before I burned it, and this tree's getting some decent size now. I think overall the pear is my best bet in this orchard. I've got another pear that does real well too. They have very little effect of Japanese beetles, and aphids aren't a big problem. Not much insect problem at all, and they seem to hold up even with frost. So that may be my best trees in this orchard. Here we have our Honeycrisp apple, and you can see some of the burn on the leaves. It's got new growth after that, thank goodness. and having a little trouble with the aphids, as you can see, or not the aphids, the Japanese beetles. You can see the skeletonization of the leaves. It's indicative of them chewing on it, and not that bad on the apple. I'd say the cherry is the worst, or not the worst, second worst. The plum here is the worst. They may like the darker leaves because it matches their color better. But we did have some oil burn on this, and now the Japanese beetles, and there's one right there. See that? I just picked him off and he's back again. So I'm going to have to catch this one by hand. I don't have my funnel with me. And we'll just crush him and be gone with that. So, trying. If I hadn't burned it with the oil, I thought we were having some good progress this year, but darn it. Over here is the peach that was killed by the frost a couple years ago, and I allowed the suckers to grow on it, and I'm trying to turn one into a main stem here again, and once it is established then I'll cut off the other ones. But the jury's still out on whether this is going to be a successful tree or not. Again, the peaches and the nectarines may not be suitable for this climate, even though global warming says that down the road they may be viable. There's the empty spot from my apricot that was killed by the frost 2 years ago. And this is the other pear, which is doing really well. Probably the best performer in the whole orchard. It's just got lots of new growth, even though I burned it with oil. And no fruit on it. And originally I thought maybe it was frost that was causing these guys not to fruit, but now I'm changing my mind, and I think they're just not ready. They're just not old enough. They say 5 to 7 years maybe, but I've seen pears growing, a pear right in the bucket when I bought them. You know, didn't put them in the ground and they've blossomed and got a pear on it. So who knows? It could be too young. Let's hope that's the case, because one of these days we're going to get some fruit. Over here is my peach that has not succumbed to frost damage and survived, maybe because it's over in the corner here with the creek and the warmer waters, keeping the temperatures up like my original plan. But no fruit this year on it, because we did get hit with a frost that took a lot of the leaves off, but it recovered. And last but not least, the 5-in-1 apple, and it only has one apple on it again this year, the Jonamac branch. So we'll see if that can survive the deer. Did not get burned that bad because it's tucked away over in the corner, and the wood line coming from the sunset is got some high trees right there, so that might have shielded this tree so that it didn't get burned as bad. The Japanese beetles are starting to show up, and I'm hand picking them, but generally this tree's not too bad off. Had a little aphid issue in the beginning of the year, and I used the cedar oil, killed those aphids as well. So twofold benefit on the cedar oil, aphid control and Japanese beetle. And had I stuck with my treatment programs, I may have avoided them altogether. So we're going to give it a try next year and see if we can be a little more consistent with the sprayings and see if we can keep them from coming in at all.
So our lone apple, we noticed last night, has fallen. It's a Jonamac, and the deer didn't get it, probably because of the tie downs to shape the tree. So we're gonna retrieve our lone apple and see how she tastes.
Finally, we get an apple.
And there she is. Our first apple.
Check that out. Looks evenly red, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay, you're going to have to wash that off.
Yep.
We got some water right here.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
They better be good because I've been waiting 3 years for this.
For our first apple.
Kind of puny, but better than nothing.
Mm-hmm. And there it is.
Looks good.
Mm-hmm.
How's the texture?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is amazing.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, I can taste the mac.
Oh.
But it's juicier than a mac.
It is juicier than a... Oh, I love it.
Jonamac, huh?
Uh-huh. Wow.
Ooh, I can't wait till we get a bunch of those next year, hopefully.
A whole tree. Wow.
And I like the texture better than the mac, too.
Uh-huh.
It's a little softer.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. There we
That's
go.
a good apple.
Yeah.